this schedule really shapes up for a playoff run with a 12-team playoff.
Areas that, you need to get from experience, which is just, hey, I need to make quicker decisions.
How do you define success for this team?
National championship.
What's going on, y'all? Bud Elliott here of the Cover 3 podcast. This is our summer school series, and today it's East Carolina. For my money, only one place to turn when you talk East Carolina. That's Hoist the Colors. That's Steve and Igoe. Steve, welcome back to the show, man.
Absolutely, Bud. It's a pleasure to be back, man. Always enjoy listening to Cover 3 and definitely enjoy the summer show. So appreciate you having me back on, man.
No doubt, man. I know we have a lot of listeners who appreciate G5 football as well. We try to highlight the best and biggest G5 sites we have, and HTC is certainly one of those. So I want to start out here. New head coach Blake Harrell, who took over with little interim stuff for a while last year, and the team actually played quite well under him. But it's hard to implement major changes midseason. How will this program look different under his leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bud, and it's really interesting. Blake, obviously he worked under Mike Houston for several years, but really couldn't be more different in terms of just style. He's so much more laid back. I mean, Mike Houston almost has that like military, I don't want to say micromanage, but it's certainly more detail-oriented and over the top of every single aspect of the program. And when Blake took over midseason, it almost felt like everybody loosened up. I mean, they kind of played with house money. And the big key for me is how do you continue that now that, all right, you're the full-time guy? Can you continue that mindset and really just being out there in spring practice, which they just wrapped up recently? And quite honestly, it's spring ball. The vibes are always good in the spring, but it just still felt like that same attitude. Like, hey, we're here. We're going to have a good time. Yeah, we got a lot of work to get to, but they're having shorter practices. They're being a little less physical, which Mike Houston, again, military type background. I think he almost was too physical at times at practice, and that caught up to him. So like almost more laid back, but it feels too like the players, I think, enjoy the atmosphere more. And I don't think you can ever really undersell how much it matters when the players love playing for the coaching staff that they have. I think you get the most out of your players, which we saw down the stretch in 2024. And as far as specific changes, he did bring in a new defensive coordinator. Obviously, Blake was the DC since 2020. Now he hired Josh Aldridge, who was a DC at Liberty formerly, and then last a few years spent some time at Auburn. So you're going to see a little bit of a different defense, but similar in some respects. Offensive coordinator John David Baker is back for a second straight year, which was a big reason why Blake got the job, because I think most of the fan base wanted that package deal. John David Baker almost running the offense, Blake overseeing the program, and still having a hand in the defense really led to a lot of success the second half of last year. So a lot of people were just hoping, let's keep this offense rolling with Katon Houser back at quarterback, and then on defense, hopefully Josh Aldridge. With a lot of new defensive personnel, hopefully they can still be opportunistic on that side of the ball.
All right. So let me ask you this. For all of our college fantasy players out there, is there a receiver they should be targeting who's going to get the majority of the targets and really go off?
I think, the obvious answer, if you look at last year's stats and who's back, is Anthony Smith. He's their deep guy. I mean, he averaged nearly 19 yards. I want to say around 19, 20 yards a catch last year. He is the vertical threat. It's the old Art Browse vertical horizontal passing game. So, like, basically his job is to take the top off the defense on a play-in, play-out basis, and he does that. So, I mean, the tough thing with a vertical guy is sometimes it's a bit boom or bust, but I think he is explosive enough and dynamic enough, Anthony Smith, where you're going to have a pretty safe bet. He's going to have 6-7 great games this season. Now, you may have a few empty games as well. If you're looking for more the volume catch guy who also has the chance to kind of break out as far as down the field, is Yannick Smith. Now, Yannick Smith came on strong very late last year. Chase Sowell was the starting outside receiver across from Anthony Smith. Yannick Smith was a 4-star recruit out of South Carolina, a true freshman. Came on late during the season after Chase Sowell got injured and really took off, had a couple 100-yard games. They kept him in the program, which was crucial because he is a definite Power 5 talent. He's a guy who I think could, he's got the tools to be a short yardage guy, medium yardage guy, and a big play guy. So Yannick Smith, Anthony Smith, two Smiths, I would say, are the guys to really watch out for on the perimeter.
Run game wise, is there somebody who stands out as like for sure the guy, no doubt?
It's pretty balanced right now. They lost 1,000-yard back Rajay Harris, who is heading to an NFL mini rookie camp. But I feel like with the backfield, it's more strength in numbers right now. London Montgomery, Penn State transfer from a year ago. He had a really good spring, capped it off with a 71-yard touchdown. He's got as much burst as anybody in the program. I would say he's my favorite to be a breakout guy. But if I were trying to pinpoint one, I just don't know if I could single-handedly say there's a definite one. I mean, London Montgomery is a candidate. Marlon Gunn is a senior. He's a veteran. He's probably more of an insurance policy more so than a number one back, a physical back. They did add Parker Jenkins from Houston, a transfer who's shown some flashes there as well. And then they've got 2 or 3 other guys they feel really good about. So that's one where, the John David Baker, their OC, has said in the past they prefer to have 3 guys really they can rely on. Last year it was mainly Rajay with London and Marlon Gunn mixed in, but I think this year you're going to see more of a balance.
All right, so anybody on offense transfer-wise that came in, you got to see him this spring, you're like, oh, this guy's a lot better than I realized. I mean, now that the window's closed to transfer.
Right. I mean, that's man. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I talk with coaches. So, hey, be careful, write this because we don't want to lose anybody to transfer. Because there, not to go completely off tangent, but there was a situation where they posted a practice clip of a player making a highlight reel catch, and there was an ACC school the next day trying to get the kid in the portal. I mean, that's how crazy this stuff is. Luckily, they were able to keep him. But I would say that the guy who stood out the most. And there were 2, Jaquez Petaway from Oklahoma, which I expected him to be good. Burner, he's going to play in the slot. I think he'll be their starting slot. And I think he's got a chance to have a breakout year in this offense. But Tyler Johnson, receiver transfer from Penn State, didn't really know what to expect. No catches at Penn State, was in their rotation, but just for whatever reason did not play a whole lot. Every time he had a target in spring ball, man, he was making a catch. Now, he's not overly big. I want to say he's only 6'1", 190, but tremendous hands, just ability to go get the football, high point it, contested catch guy. I don't know where exactly he's going to play, but he's a guy that I fully expect to make an impact. So Tyler Johnson from Penn State, receiver, we'll see. I think we'll see a lot of targets and make a lot of plays in this offense.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little defense.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, guys, welcome back here to Summer School on the Cover 3 podcast. I'm Bud Elliott. That's Stephen Igoe of Hoist the Colors, your source for East Carolina football. And East Carolina is a team that has absolutely been staunch on defense for a long time. Blake Harrell's a guy that can dial up some offense. Is there any chance this offense is better than the defense this year?
I think this will be a season where they've got to rely on the offense. I really do. I think it's a situation where defensively they lost so much. I mean, it was a combination of graduation and portal, and really the graduation side hurt them more than anything. And then on top of that, I think they had a few guys unexpectedly hit the portal at the end of the season. And, basically their whole defensive front graduated. On top of that, a guy they were expecting to step into a starting role, CJ Mims, transferred to North Carolina. They also lost their starting nickel, Gavin Gibson, to North Carolina. They lost a few cornerbacks as well. I think it's one of those things where I just think it's going to take time for this defense to gel. You bring in a new coordinator and Josh Alders. They have had some guys who have stepped up this spring that they've been grooming for this moment, but it's one of those things as well where I don't know if the talent's going to be quite where it was last year. Definitely the experience won't. And the good thing is with Blake Harrell, with his background as a defensive coordinator and with Alders, they both run multiple havoc-creating schemes. So you're probably going to give up some big plays, but I think the goal with that too is to also create turnovers. And if they can have a good enough offensive season, let's say you steal a few possessions every game, all of a sudden, maybe if you're giving up just less than 30 points a game or around there, you could still win a lot of football games. So personally, I expect this offense, especially early in the season, to lead the way, and the defense is going to have to get better as the season goes on, just due to the inexperience.
If this defense does not have a major drop-off from where it was last year, who will have stepped up big time?
I think it's got to be your linebackers, because to me, that's been a group that they've got a few guys who are older, and specifically your inside linebackers and your outside linebackers, edge guys. So Sam Danka is a 6'6", 230-pound, freak of an athlete who honestly can play anywhere from nickel to stand-up outside linebacker. This year they're going to try him at inside linebacker. He's played both of those positions in the past, and they just haven't been able to find the home for him. And he looks the part. It's just a matter of, is this going to be a positional fit for him? He's a senior now. He's experienced. Damian Wilson's a former Missouri transfer who's stepping in to a starting role this year. Another senior as well who's played a lot of football. Those two guys have got to step up and kind of be the bell cow of the second level of the defense. They have some pretty good depth behind them as well. And then on the edge, Raheem Craig, outside linebacker, stand-up guy, former Louisville transfer, is going to be their starting edge rusher. And a guy that got to the quarterback a decent amount last year, but I think needs to be more consistent. Those are the three guys for me in the kind of the second level going towards the front half of the defense that have to have a good year.
This schedule's tough. I think. I mean, you get Tulane, you get Memphis, you get UTSA, you get Army. You dodge what? You dodge Navy and who else do you dodge? Right?
Yeah,
USF.
I mean, yeah, Navy and USF would be the main ones, and they've, for whatever reason, ECU cannot beat Navy in football, so that's a good one to dodge. But yeah, man, I mean, you look at it, it's much tougher than last year. I would say, you know, the season opener from a non-conference perspective against NC State on a Thursday night after having just beaten them in a bowl game to close last season, and the way that game ended, you had kind of basically a fight. So that's going to be that's going to be an interesting opener. You get BYU at home, which, like, I mean, BYU could be a college football playoff contender, and then in conference, I mean, you face the best of the league projected wise outside of probably USF. And you know, Army, we'll see if they can repeat last year. I don't know if they can with Bryson Daly no longer there, but I still expect them to be good. You got to face them on a short week after playing BYU, so it's a tall challenge. But I guess also the you know, what comes with that, Bud, is if you're East Carolina, they kind of made a living in the 90s and the early 2000s on beating brand name teams. Well, you have your opportunity now if you can get back to, let's say you beat NC State in the season opener. You know, they're probably going to be dogs in that game on the road, but you just beat them in a bowl. If you win that game, all of a sudden you start to get some buzz. And then if you're 3-0 with BYU coming to town, that's a massive, you know, nationally recognized game. So it is daunting for sure, but I think Pirate fans are kind of looking forward to the challenge as well.
Absolutely. Stephen, how would you define success for this team?
That's a great question as well. I think personally, you know, with the offense coming back for the most part and some upgrades there, and the offensive coordinator, John David Baker, who was in the mix for the VT OC job, ended up staying at ECU. I think you at least have to make a bowl game once again at minimum for it to be a success. I think most Pirate fans, after the way last year ended, are hopeful to compete for an American Athletic Conference championship, something ECU has not been able to win or even get to a championship game since entering the league. So that, to me, is the next step for this program. Is that attainable this year? I think it's attainable. I don't know how realistic it is. I wouldn't say they're a favorite to win the league. I would say probably upper half of the league, and then you see where things break from there. And I think getting back to a bowl game at minimum is a success given the turnover on defense and the fact, you know, the reality is you're having a first-year full-time head coach, and it's not like he's just going to automatically continue the success from last year. He's now gone through a full offseason. They've had some staff changes, support staff and coaching-wise, that there's going to be some growing pains. The good news is I think you can fall back on this offense being pretty good at the end of the day, and that way maybe you get to 6, 7, 8 wins and maybe still a few early and make this thing really interesting.
Awesome. Stephen, really enjoyed this thing, man. We'll have to catch up soon.
Always great to talk with you, bud.